to the podcast. We're wrapping up this school year, and I'm going to ask you a question. Have you struggled getting content from your school buildings that you can celebrate on social media? Is that ever a struggle? If it is, you are in the right place, because Brian Bridges out of Lake Hamilton in Arkansas has a ton of ideas, proven ideas that have worked so well at flooding his inbox with content and celebrations to share out on social media. We're going to talk about Brian's entry into school PR, which was basically him pitching the position to his school district because they didn't have it before he started. He's going to just share kind of how he uses social media. He actually has some folks at each building getting a stipend, so that of course helps. But we're going to dive deep into a concept that he has with a form, and he's got QR code stickers all over his buildings for his staff to submit content to. And it has worked out so well. He's going to tell you exactly how many, and it's in the hundreds of submissions that he's gotten in the 2 months that he has launched this. We're also going to talk about how he uses student interns. And then he's going to share one story that went viral that was just an authentic story. And it's the truth. Brian just believes in that authentic storytelling and how that's happening all the time. We just need to get the stories out there. So you're just in a great place. Brian is a genuine guy, and he's got a lot of practical things that you're going to want to implement before next school year. Now, talking about next school year and making it better, if you're looking to take your social media to the next level, we want to invite you into our social media boot camp. It starts in July. It's a 5-week program that has some recorded sessions, and then it's got live Q&A, and we actually hold you accountable to take action so that you're putting to work what you're learning so that you can move the needle. Now, this boot camp is for people just getting started. And this boot camp is for people who are veterans, who have been in school communications, maybe for 10 years or more, but are really looking to devise the systems to get that content, to make sure you've got the policies in place, and then like actually carrying out great social media best practices that work for schools. You're going to learn it all. There's no training out there that exists that is better for school communicators than this social media boot camp that's offered by Social School for EDU. So head on over to my website. I also have in the show notes a link right to the boot camp. We only have a few spots left for July. We do cap it because we keep it small, but you're going to want to check that out and get signed up right away before we're full. But I want to invite you into that. So before we get started, I'm going to turn it over to this week's K-12 PR tip. All right, this week's K-12 PR tip is all about summer content. Okay. Summer is upon us. Of course, today that I'm releasing this is Memorial Day. And so, you might be wondering, what am I going to post over summer? Well, one thing is you're not going to post as much as you do during the school year. Of course you're not, because you don't have as much going on. If you've got summer school, we want to make sure that you're celebrating summer school. And then, there's going to be little reminders, things that are coming up for the next school year. Throwback Thursdays, and maybe you've got some staff or student features. Those things can continue over the summer months. Okay. But I'm going to say on average, we're posting about 3 times a day during the school year, like on our Facebook page. During the summer, we're usually posting about once a day. So I just want to give you that permission to kind of be relieved. And if you don't want to post that often, that's okay too. Like I'm a big one on work-life harmony. You deserve a break. Your families probably deserve a little break as well. I wouldn't say disappear altogether over the summer, because there are things that you're going to want to share. You're going to want to celebrate. You're going to want to get out there, but just know that summer social media looks a lot different than school social media. And I hope you take that in as some advice and our little tip for this week. So now let's get into our awesome interview with Brian Bridges. Hey, Brian, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Andrea. Thank you. Good to be here.
Representing Arkansas.
Absolutely. Woo Pig Suey.
Yeah. So I'm glad to have you here. And we were chit-chatting a little bit about vacations before we got started. And it's soon to be summer vacation for everybody. So that's good. Brian, can you introduce yourself, kind of share your background and then your role there at Lake Hamilton School District?
Sure. So my position is I am the Director of Communications and Public Relations for the Lake Hamilton School District, and I've been in this role for 8 years. I have been in education now for 13 years. So before this, I was in the classroom. I was a math teacher. And so I've had that education background. And then I just saw the need for this position. I saw the need to have someone doing this for the district that we're in. We are, we're, I think, the 22nd largest district in the state of Arkansas. And so a school of our size needed someone dedicated to making sure that everyone was informed and therefore involved in what's going on in the district, and to have a clear message, a unified message, a nice brand, and just all the things we were lacking at the time with a superintendent that was trying his best to do it. But clearly they've got so much on their plate, you need someone dedicated. So 8 years ago, I met with them and did a proposal for creating this position. And it came to fruition, and it's been a great ride ever since. And what's been nice is it's been something that I've been able to cultivate and create along the way. So I've been able to make it into what I see is best for our school and community. And that's a neat opportunity, because sometimes you get to follow someone and you have to do things that's always been done, and it's hard to make some changes. And this has really just evolved into what it is today, just from learning different best practices and trial and errors.
So you started in about 2014, is that right?
That's about right. Yeah. So the year before, I was still in the classroom. I started doing a few little things for the district, just as they called them, part of my interview for the position, but officially came on, and it was actually part-time when I started. My wife and I are business owners, and so we have several companies that we run, and those were growing at the time, and so it worked out perfect for this to be a part-time position. And as our businesses grew, this position grew, and then we ended up selling off some of our businesses, and then this job became more necessary to be here more full time.
Yeah. So how big is Lake Hamilton, like first enrollment wise?
So enrollment wise, K through 12, we have around 4,100 give or take students. So like I said, compared to other states, it may be one of your smaller schools, but in Arkansas, this is one of the larger schools.
Yeah. And it's just interesting being that large of a school that it didn't have a communications position before you started.
There are 7 school districts within our county here in Arkansas, 7 different districts. And we were the first district that had this position. And I was in this position for 1 year. And the very next year, 3 other districts created the same position, because they saw, all that was being done. And so I think, this position is one that is growing. I just like our organization, I'm the past president now. I got to pass the buck this past April of ArkaNSPRA, our Arkansas chapter of our national organization. And just our local, Arkansas chapter has grown by leaps and bounds just in my 8 years being in this position, because schools are seeing the need and they are creating these positions, because now more than ever, everyone's vying for parents' time and parents' involvement. And so it's very important. I think schools and school boards and communities are seeing the importance of making sure that we're getting the message out and communicating in ways that are going to be receptive of your parents and community
Yeah.
and staff, I should say.
Right. Yeah. It's a big job. And I think every school district, no matter how big or small, like they need to have a communications department. And maybe that's a one person shop. Are you still just a one person shop?
I am. It's really fun. I'll get all the calls of, people that are trying to sell something or stuff like that. And it's an inter-office joke that I'll have to say, let me get with my communications team and we'll get back with you. And then I look around and team, okay, all right, here we go. Right, a team of one. Let's make this call. So, yep, still a team of one, but that's okay. I've got a really good system as far as getting content and creating content. So even though I'm a team of one in my office, I've got lots of worker bees that I trust to help, generate content and run some building level pages.
Okay. So we're going to dive into some more on social media and what you've done there. But I really kind of want to dive into your story of just starting this position, because there are people listening that are maybe doing some social media stuff part-time on top of other roles, and they want to kind of convince their school district that, hey, this is what we could do, and, kind of propose things. What advice would you have, like, when you went into your superintendents and the kind of the leadership team, what did you tell them about, hey, we really should add this role and I'm interested in filling it?
Well, you first need to look at your community and look at your school in general. And if you see that there is a need that's not being met, compile some research and start getting some data from other districts and even the National School Public Relations Association. They have some great resources on their website that I utilized as far as how to start this position. I also utilized some of our local Arkansas schools that had one for a while, and I spoke with them about their day-to-day jobs and activities, and I spoke with some of their administrators about, have you seen a benefit? What benefits have you seen? And then just being a business owner myself with a background in advertising and graphic design and marketing and the public relations piece and customer service, I knew the importance of making sure someone was dedicated to filling all of those roles as well. So, reach out to those around you that already have a successful communications program. Reach out to our national organization. Clearly, they could follow your blog and get lots of tips and tricks, but be organized. If this is something that you want to do, you've got to show your administrators that you are self-motivated, that you're going to get the job done, that you've got plans, that you've got goals, and write those out. Make sure you have that presentation. And that's what I did. I had a presentation. I sat in the boardroom and presented for 20 to 30 minutes on all that I had hoped this position would one day turn into.
Yeah. And has that come into fruition?
It has. I still, early on, I would hear all the time, what did we do before we had you? What would we do? And now it's not as much, because I think once you do something for so long, people, they don't necessarily take it for granted, but they may think something in their head and not verbalize it. But I do. I think back to the past 8 years, and I'm proud of what I see. There's been, like I said, there's been trials and errors. I've done things and realized, okay, that's not the best way to do it. Let's try something else. But I've also tried things and it's been great, and it's stuff that I've kept doing. So, but you got to go in with a plan. You've got to, you sometimes you've got to be convincing. You've got to persuade them to take a leap of faith and give you this chance. And that's what they did. And I think that's what they did with me on making it a part-time position at first, which worked well for me, because I needed to run my other businesses at the time, and it was perfect for my situation at the time.
Right.
But start small, don't bite off more than you can chew. Do what you do it well, and then you can kind of slowly start adding and growing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm assuming pretty early on when you started this position, social media was a focus. Maybe not. So why don't you just tell me about how Lake Hamilton uses social media and kind of what channels you're on, and kind of your strategy there.
So we had just a Facebook page for the district and for each of our buildings. We've got 6 different school buildings: primary, elementary, intermediate, middle, junior high, and high school. And so we had our superintendent at the time, he's since retired, he was running the district page. We had building principals running the building pages, and it was just a hodgepodge of information, Google clip art. And like I said, they were trying their best, but there was no set formatting or anything like that. And so whenever I got in this role, we came up with posting guidelines. We wanted our posts to look a certain way. For example, on Facebook, all of our posts have an all caps header. I think that's important. Just like reading, I think social media is similar to what used to be the paper and stuff like that. I want to know the header before I read the text. You know what I'm saying? So I like that there's a little header, something that'll either give them like, okay, I want to read this, I'm interested, or I'm not. So it's got a header, and then it's got a couple sentences, a body, and then it always ends with our hashtag. I had a hashtag contest right when I got started. So we had community and students and everyone submit hashtag ideas. And we ended up voting. And so we've got our hashtag that we've had for years. And every post now that's out by our district uses that hashtag. It's on t-shirts, it's LH Wolf Nation. And that way it's simple to type, simple to remember. And yes, everyone has a nation, but the LH Wolf, that ties it into us, and we know it's for Lake Hamilton. So we got Facebook cleaned up. We added an Instagram. And so that was something that we added. And then we added a Twitter as well. We are not as big on Twitter as we are on Instagram and Facebook. Facebook, we have a little over 13,000 followers. Instagram, we have close to 5,000, and Twitter, we're close to 1,000. So that's grown a little bit.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's a big following considering your district of 4,000 students. So, and then do your schools, do they still manage their own Facebook pages as well?
So I now have a communications committee. I went to our superintendent and assistant superintendent and asked if I could have a stipend position in each of our school buildings. One person that I could train. I have a communications manual, a social media policy guidelines, so that I could have one person to train, and that would be the one designee per building that was responsible for that building Facebook page and getting that content on there. And so they went for it. So we pay a $500 stipend for each of our building representatives. And those ladies, they're all ladies this year, those ladies run their building Facebook pages and do a great job and follow. And we go over, we have a training at the beginning of the year when I bring them all in, and we make sure everyone's comfortable with that. I train them on Canva. I already have all of our brands loaded in a team Canva account with our colors and logos and mascots, and so they have access to all of that. They share when they're creating stuff, so that's worked out really well. And then as far as our Instagram, we just do the one Instagram page for the district. So that's something that I manage, and same with Twitter.
Okay. For those folks at each building that get the stipend, is there a requirement of like so many posts a week, or how do you do that?
Yes, I ask them to do at least 2 posts a week.
Okay.
And the majority of the time it's very easy to hit. And it used to be more difficult for them to get content because some of them are in the classroom, but I just did a new QR code sticker initiative about a month and a half ago, and it's been phenomenal. And so they are getting content daily from their teachers to put on their site. So it's gone a lot better.
Okay. So that's awesome. So let's go to that, because that was something when I was visiting your chapter this year, we were talking about getting content from staff. And a lot of times I'm encouraging sending emails, because if you have a form, they have to go find the form. And
Right.
So Brian, you came up with a brilliant idea of these QR codes, because QR codes are back. They're cool again.
They are cool again.
They are on, you don't have menus anymore at restaurants, right?
Right.
You've got to use the QR code to get the menus. So Tell me about what you did with these QR codes and how you made sure that they were kind of everywhere.
Well, so I stole your tagline um, about celebrating your school one story at a time. And I created a oval sticker design on Canva and did a QR code that links to a Jot form. I use Jot form a lot. That's been very helpful with a lot of my communication and forms and stuff. And in the Jot form, it's real easy. They put in their name, their email address, their building, a description, and then they upload their photos. And so I had those stickers printed, and I went through every room in our district, and every door, including my door over there, has a sticker. And that sticker, when they scan it with their phones and they select, let's say, primary school, it's automatically sent to my primary person and to me. And so that way my primary person's getting content, but I'm also seeing it as well. So if I want to pull it for district, I have it. And the reason I did that is just use and ease of use. If a teacher's walking out, they're using their phones for everything. And so they're taking their pictures on their phones of their classroom. Well, if they're walking out of the room, all they've got to do is scan the QR code and they'll be on their way to the lounge or on their way home and just simply click, 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 upload, send. I've got 5 of them right here that have been popped up since we've been on our Zoom. They're constantly sending in content. And it's just been a great way for our parents and community to see what's going on in the school. And a great way for our teachers to brag on all that they're doing in the classroom.
Yeah. Would you be willing to share a picture of that sticker that you created?
Yeah, yeah,
And hopefully nobody will fill out the form erroneously, and maybe they'll send you some fun stuff. So,
yeah.
um, but that would be awesome because I think and the biggest thing is kind of when we talked about this, just I said, I'm like, Brian, I'm gonna have you on my podcast once you implement that, because what I want to know and what everybody listening wants to know right now is did it work? Does it work? Like, are you getting more content than you did before you had those stickers up?
So I created this on March the 3rd. And since March the 3rd, I've had 126 submissions.
Okay, and we're recording this on May 3rd, so that's in 2 months.
In 2 months, I've had 126 submissions.
And before that, what would you say your previous 2 months were?
Before that, I was really having to go out and about to get content or sending messages to my building reps. Please remember to send content. And so it's oh my goodness. I mean, I have to schedule my social media posts so far in advance now because I have so much content, which is a great thing, to have that much content to schedule. Used to, I would try to put on 2 to 3 Facebook posts a day. And now, I mean, I can put on really as much as I want. I try not to post, more than an hour or 2 increments.
Right.
But I don't want all of these great educators and coaches sending stuff and not seeing it. I don't want them to get disheartened because they're not seeing their content. And so there's a fine line that I want to get it out there, but I also want to hit those algorithms for our social media as well. But it's been great. I mean, it's been such a success, and my building reps are loving it as well. And again, it goes back to kind of this Jot form. With Jot form, you can set up those tables to where if they select this, then it's sent to this. And
Okay.
so it made it super easy. You're not having to forward and click. And like I said, the teachers are no longer taking pictures with the camera. They're taking pictures with their phones, And
Right.
so to ask them to then go in, attach the pictures to an email. Oh, well, that email's too large. That can't send all pictures, blah, blah, blah. With my Jot form, I mean, they're sending 20 to 30 pictures. Now, do I use all 20 to 30? No, I select, the 10 best, and then I typically post 10 or less pictures per post. But it's crazy. And I have the data to show. I mean, like I said, I just pulled it up, 126 submissions in 2 months. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we'll give the links to all of Brian's pages there in Lake Hamilton. But right now, as I'm looking at it, I've got contraction surgery, which was in the second grade classroom. I got a gifted and talented post from the middle school. We've got an independent art project from the high school. We've got seniors being celebrated. We got a school garden. We've got a track meet. We've got world champions with the wind ensemble. It's like there's such a plethora of different activities, ages, interests, all of the things. And just it's just an amazing way to be basically celebrate your entire school.
Right, right. And that's another thing. If you notice my titles, I list what school they're coming from, like LHES, our elementary school boot camp. Well, the next post up is LHPS, our primary school. Next post up, our high school world championships. And then we've got some track. And then we've got our alternative school with their garden. You know, the only photo out of all of those that I took was that garden photo.
Okay.
Every other photo was submitted through that submit your story QR code sticker.
Awesome. Well, I think there's going to be people ordering
years to get to that point. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's taken 8 years of figuring out what's the best way for me to get things. And this is the best way. And, you know, on Fridays in the fall, I started what's called Wolf Fan Friday. And every Friday in the fall, we do a maroon and gold day. You know, we encourage community, staff, students to deck out in school colors and celebrate being a wolf. You know, I don't always say celebrate the football team or the basketball team. I talk about celebrating being a wolf and celebrate being where you're from and being proud of your school. That's a big thing right now is, especially in some high schools, you know, you've got some groups that say, well, I'm not an athlete, I don't care about that. And I go over with them about how having school spirit is not about a team. It is about your school. It is about your town. It is about your community. And so Wolf Fan Friday is something that I started several years ago. And same thing with Wolf Fan Friday. I've got an upload jot form. I have a custom bit.ly. And so we do custom bit.ly so it looks better, lhsd.info/Wolf Fan Friday. And our parents and community members submit photos every Friday and we upload them to our social. What do the parents do? They go to social, they check, they click, they like, they share. Red Ribbon Week, we do jot forms for Red Ribbon Week with bit.lys that they submit. So utilizing jot form instead of email, it's cleared up my email. And it's also given me one place to kind of house everything.
So is Jotform free or do you pay for that?
There is a free version of Jotform, but we do pay. It's very, very small fee that they charge, but we do pay for Jotform. And then I also pay for bit.ly to have that custom a web link, you know, a shortened web link. I just think it looks better. I'm all about the brand. I want it to be ours. I want it to be Lake Hamilton. And so I think it's important that you spend on that just so that you have that consistent brand out there.
Sure. Now, you also have a student social media team. Is that right?
That's right. That's another thing that I started this year. So I wanted to showcase things from a student's perspective. I wanted to give the students an opportunity to share what's going on in their school. And so I have not been able to train them as much as I would like to have. They've only been around for about 2 months. And so I wanted to start it off though this year. This is my trial right now. And then we're going to do a new application in the fall with more intensive training. But we partnered with or signed up with Class Intercom to do our student social media team. And we do that for junior high and high school. I was seeing that I wasn't necessarily getting as much content from those schools as the lower schools. And so that way, this would give me content, but also content from a student's perspective. And so I've got about 25 students on my student social media team, and they post through Class Intercom. And the great thing through Class Intercom is once they post, I get a notification and I'll go in, and with Class Intercom, I can check to make sure all the posting guidelines are followed. Typically, I go in and have to edit part of their descriptions or text. And then if I need to change a picture or crop something, I can, all within there, and then I can post it. And the great thing about our student social media team is they get the credit for that. So whenever they do submit a post, there'll always be a little camera emoji tied to their post with their name. And so that way they're getting out in the public, and if someone sees that, they see that it was a student submission. And I haven't had one this week, but then, last week I had Aaron, one of our student social media team, submitted 2 or 3 posts. So it kind of depends. And like I said, it's not been, I haven't been able to train as much as I wanted to on that yet. And I think once I'm able to really train them and show them the benefits of this, it'll grow. And I'd like to grow the number of students involved in this. That was a question that I got, is how many kids do you want on this? And I said, as many kids that will do it, because you want them to be involved. They're on social media anyway. Why not let them use social media for good?
Yeah, absolutely. And skills that they can really use. Like as kids, like they could get jobs doing some of this.
Exactly.
Well, I love it. And you have to start somewhere, right? And so you got your feet in there. Class Intercom, great partner to a lot of schools. It gives you a great tool to not be quite as scary. It's not quite as scary handing over the keys to the castle. You've
And that
got
was our administrators, a lot of the principals were nervous about that. And
right.
once I assured them that nothing goes out unless I push approve, that really helped alleviate their stresses.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, yeah, I see a couple things here from FFFBLA, a state competition, and then there was a spring musical.
Yes.
So it's great the way that you're giving them credit. Awesome, awesome stuff. We could talk all day, Brian, about all of the cool things that you're doing there. Well, I need to ask you this question, and praying you'll share one of the big stories that actually hit when I was visiting Arkansas. But what are some of the best stories that you've been able to share from your school on social media?
One just happened recently, like you said. We had a student he is a senior this year, and he is a manager for one of our basketball teams, and he is a part of our Special Olympics team, as well as a manager for our basketball. And
Okay,
on
I lost you for a second. So why don't you just start? I'm just going to start with that question again, and then you'll just
Okay,
start over. Is that okay?
yep.
So what are some of the best stories that you've been able to share from your school on social media?
Well, one of them happened recently, and it was actually around the time that you visited Arkansas and spoke at our ArkaNSPRA meeting. We have a senior basketball player. His name is Andy, and he is a member of our Special Olympics team and also the manager of our basketball teams. And he's been the manager for about 5 years now. And on senior night, we had 4 seniors that are on the team. And obviously, you need 5 seniors to start. And so our basketball coach had spoken with Andy's parents about the possibility, what they thought of Andy starting for senior night, and all of that. And of course, they thought it was just wonderful, and the team thought it was wonderful. And so at practice, he surprised Andy with a jersey and let him know he was going to get to start. And one of the assistant coaches happened to just be filming that. And so when I got the news that that was happening, I just sent it in me. I was like, we need to make sure that the stadium is full. And so I contacted the basketball coach and said, can you put me in touch with Andy's parents? I just think we need to make sure the stadium's full. We need to promote that Andy is getting to do this. This is really cool. And so the day of the game, I had Andy's mom and Andy and the coach come up to the arena, and we filmed just a little piece on him getting to start and what that meant to the family and to Andy. And then that night we had a big crowd, and Andy got to start, and he got to make a basket at the start of the game, which of course the other team then went down and shot a basket as well. So the game started 2-2, and then they played the game. But at the end of the game, we were winning, but the other coach actually was a Lake Hamilton graduate. And so he decided that, or out of the goodness of his heart, he looked over at our coach and said, "Hey, put Andy back in. We're going to back off, let him back in." Andy got in the game, and he shot 3 3-pointers and made all 3 and one at the buzzer. And everybody just surrounded him. And, all of us have tears in our eyes, and we're like, "Oh my goodness." Well, I immediately get my phone, and I'm like going to our YouTube live channel, and I'm screen recording. I'm like, this has got to go out. This has got to go out, because just the piece that I had shared earlier in the day had been shared hundreds of times. Well, so I released that clip of the game out on our social media channels, and it took off. And it ended up, we were on the Today Show, we were on ABC Nightly News. We had a 4-minute feature on the NCAA Men's Basketball Selection Sunday Show. It's just been amazing. And just the videos, I haven't even checked the stats lately, but it has been seen, the last I looked, by over 1 million people. I mean, it was just unreal how this good news happened. So that's probably my top story this year that I don't know that it will ever top. And one thing I love about it is how it was so genuine. This is not something that was orchestrated and put out there and with the intention of garnering all of these accolades. This was so genuine, and it was and I think that's why it resonated with so many people, is because they felt the love and they saw the kindness. And those are the stories that we need to share. And those are the stories that, as someone that runs social media for a school, those are the stories that I'm looking for. I'm looking for that. And that's one thing we've been sharing over and over again, is these things happen every day in education. They happen every day in the classroom, with our administrators, with our food service workers, with our custodians, with our front desk secretaries and bookkeepers and administrative assistants. These things happen every day. And so when you start looking for those kind little tidbits that happen every day, and you can get just a little snapshot of it or a little video of it that shows the genuine kindness and humanity, that's what I feel like takes off more than anything, because there's so much negative. People want to see the good. And so when they see something good, it's shared. And we were getting comments from not only all over the nation, but all over the globe. We were getting comments and feedback. So it was really touching, and it was touching to see that kindness matters. It was just another reminder that kindness matters.
Yeah. And I bet as people are listening, they're gonna be like, I remember that. But I am going to ask you to share at least one of the posts so that we can share in the show notes with everybody. So we'll get the QR code sticker for you guys, and then a link to that story, which would be great. Our time's gone so fast, Brian. If people want to stay connected to you, of course, they can check out Lake Hamilton's social media pages, but what's the best way to stay connected to you?
Feel free to email me. I'm always here as a resource, and I think it takes a village in our communications world, because, like we talked about earlier, many of us are a team of one or a team of two. So it does take a village, and so I'm always here to provide any sort of feedback, assistance, just like I know many of my colleagues are as well. Following other pages. That's where we get our best ideas. With my QR code content creating stickers, I looked at your tagline, and as you were speaking, I was like, wait, I can take that and we can create, I guarantee you I can do something to help generate some content. And it's just been phenomenal for a little amount of money, making it easy for people to send stuff, to share the good, to celebrate, just like you say all the time, celebrate your school.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep telling them. Everything that you do, nothing you do is too small. Everything's important. And I'll be going, I'm leaving here as soon as I'm done with you. I'm going to be filming a teacher appreciation video that I'm hoping turns out as good as as I want it to. But sharing the good, and that's what's important.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got his email, but it's brian.bridges@lhwolves.net. We'll get you to Brian. Also, if you fill out his QR code, no, don't do that. We don't want to, you're already getting enough stories from your
Yeah,
staff, which
right.
is awesome. And I just love your message about the genuine storytelling. Like you said, I mean, when something goes viral, that's cool. That's really never your intent. It's just you have stories to celebrate. And you talked about how they happen everywhere. They happen with students, they happen with staff, they happen with your support staff, with your custodial team. There's all with families and parents of kids. We got to just take those and get those out there to people because they're craving good news, and we have a ton of it to give. Brian, you've done such an amazing job in your 8 years. I can't imagine what it's going to look like in another 8 years. Really good examples of what good social media looks like at Lake Hamilton. So please, you guys start following his stuff. You're going to be inspired. And thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
I enjoyed it. Thanks, Andrea.
You bet. All right, everybody. We'll have you back next week. Next Monday, we'll be back with another episode. Until then, keep telling those stories. Bye-bye.